After South Carolina loses, prior to that game to UConn and blowout.
Gets
a blowout loss.
Molly-whopped at their home court by 30.
87-58 to UConn, who just loses to Tennessee last week.
After LSU, and then LSU beats Tennessee.
And so you see South Carolina go down like that, you're like, oh, this is a real opportunity to kind of, LSU was a projected 2 seed in the NCAA tournament before the game yesterday. And that was a real opportunity to get into that upper echelon, those top 4 seeds, if you're able to get a win against Texas, who was the number 3 team at the time. But LSU really handled things great. I mean, the first quarter was just full of energy, back and forth, talking trash, flexing, hyping up, just a kind of a messy brand of basketball where they were physical, some fouls that weren't called, things here and there. Just the first quarter was a dogfight. But LSU responds. They weather the storm. They locked in defensively in the second quarter and just kind of shut Texas down. Texas was stuck at 12 points for a minute, and LSU goes on a little run, gets a 22-12 lead before Texas scores, and LSU responds here and there, and they're up by, I think, 9 at half. Texas comes out with a run to start the third quarter. LSU responds, gets back up by double digits, and then from then on, Texas just kind of dominated. I think the fourth quarter, Texas outscored LSU by quite the margin. I think LSU only scored 9 points in the fourth quarter, and that's where a lot of the discussion originated, was in the offense late in the game.
Texas outscored LSU 34-15 after LSU led by 12 with 4:38 left in the game.
In the third quarter?
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, it was...
And that watching it live, we've watched enough of LSU women's basketball to
right.
They kind of play with their food. It feels like they get these 12, 15, 18-point leads, and then you look up and you go, I can't really turn it off.
Right.
I feel like LSU, this should be a win.
Yes.
And you look back up, I think Oklahoma game is probably the best example of, I was watching it, it's watching it intently, and then it's okay, they're up 24.
Right.
I'll keep it on.
Yeah.
But I'm not breaking it down anymore. I'm not taking notes on a legal pad, then get it back out, because now it's tied and you're having to make a game winner and you're losing at points. So to be up 12 with 4:38 left, and then you look and
you got to close it out, man. You have to.
But you can see how it happens.
Right. It's they.
It bothers you more than it bothers me, because
they made a couple of mistakes here and there. The shot selection to me is one of the biggest question marks around, and I get that that's kind of how they score their points. But there were some times where they were just taking the first shot they could find. And offense and defense are connected. As much as you can kind of separate them in other sports, in basketball, they are tied together. When shots are falling, it's a whole lot easier to go guard somebody. And that's when you kind of saw LSU lock in the second quarter. Well, when Tennessee really picked up their defense in the fourth, and LSU didn't really change their offensive philosophy, they just kept trying to go one-on-one or high ball screen. That was really it. Or get out and run. Texas found easier shots on the other end because they were getting down, they were guarding. And LSU was not able to find any offensive rhythm, which then turns into losing some of the defensive energy, and those things go hand in hand. And LSU needed some buckets down the stretch, and they weren't able to get them. And to me, the biggest question is, why not throw something out there offensively to keep Texas on their toes, instead of just a high ball screen from Michaela, because that was your whole offense at the end of the game.
You saw it at the end of the game.
In the fourth quarter,
threes.
All the points you scored were Michaela Williams high ball screen score, and I love it. That is your best play. That's your go-to 100%. But when you're up in a game and you need to just run something, they kept going one-on-one and running ball screens with Poa or Flauget, and they were doubling it, they were hedging. And you weren't really able to get in a rhythm or get anything going towards the rim. There's got to be something you can throw in there, whether it's just a flex offense, whether it's, just something simple to at least get the defense moving so the other 4 players on the court aren't just standing and watching a one-on-one and the girls for Texas are catching their breath and then running down on offense after you miss the first shot you can find,
There's a lot of conjecture in the chat that I will bring to you because this is kind of like your arena.
Right.
Brock TV. LSU women's basketball doesn't run any offense. It's all iso ball. Women's basketball lost their chance from Wolfgang Freud at SEC championship at number 1 seed. Both games at Texas and USCE, South Carolina. They choked at the end. Wolfgang again. Noah, it's 3-on-5 or 1-on-1. They don't have a true starting 5, so I'll let you tackle all of those at once. But Carl, maybe with the hottest take of all, if this team makes it past the Sweet 16, it would be a miracle. Makes too many mental mistakes and turnovers.
I mean, I don't agree with Carl in the making it past the 16 being a miracle. But I do agree on some of the mistakes. They do make some mistakes where, like, I go back to the Flaugier gambling on a pass on the perimeter that turns into free throws for Texas on kind of when LSU made some separation, and the first play that Texas made to get their run going and get back in the game was Flaugier gambled on a pass on the perimeter. She doesn't get it. They catch. They get past her. She fouls. 2 free throws. They make them both, and they kind of then it turns around. Flaugier's aggravated turnover.
Turns it over.
They go score again, and now it's a completely different ballgame. It was 40-48 or whatever. Well, that's 2 free throws, 40-42. Turnover, layup, 48-44. It's a 4-point ballgame now. You hit a 3, it's 1 point, and And so, like, it's plays like that where it's if you just sit down and guard, because it was, if I'm remembering the play correctly, they shut down a baseline drive, they get the kick back out, they close down the perimeter shooter, they don't take the shot, they swing it back up top. You've already taken, it's a 30-second shot clock. That's probably already 10 or so seconds off the clock. So now if you just sit down and guard, which Flaugier did, so that's 4 more seconds off. They swing it. If you just sit down and guard, the clock is at like 12 seconds.
There's only so many things you can do.
Right. Like just at that point, they're about to try to run a ball screen, guard it well. If they score off of it, they score off of it. Don't make a mistake on your own. They swing it back to the girl Flaugier's guarding. She gambles to try to steal it. It's caught, foul with, 6 or so seconds left on the shot clock. 2 free throws. They get to slow down a little bit, catch their breath, just all the way around. Like that to me, when it happened, stood out to me because it's a mistake. When I'm coaching for Central, we've had those same mistakes. A play like that can really get you out of the rhythm because then Flaugier doesn't agree with the foul call. She can get a little aggravated because we're all human. That can lead to a turnover or something on the other end, and those things can just kind of stockpile up when you make a mistake. So there are mistakes where you look at LSU and you're just you shouldn't really do that there. Like that the shot selection to me is LSU's biggest struggle, where especially in that fourth quarter when Texas was going on their run, you needed to slow down and do something, and instead LSU started taking the first shot they saw. Off balance didn't matter. It's an off balance mid-range shot. The first time they get going towards the rim and get a good look at it, the ball was going up at it, and it wasn't falling, obviously. And so that just stockpiles even more for Texas to keep their run going. What were you about to say?
No, I was going to say that's when you have to look at – you would hope that coaching would make the adjustment there, where you're able to look at what you're doing offensively and be like, all right, if it's not falling – because that was a defensive struggle. The game was not pretty at any point, and LSU played great defense up until –
right,
like certainly in the first
when the
half.
offense started dying in the fourth quarter.
But that's where I think we were talking about on the live stream yesterday. You look at the top, like your 3 best players, the amount of minutes that they're playing currently is almost unsustainable.
Right.
Like the more you get deeper into the season, where they're playing 38 minutes a game, and how many are there in a
40?
Yeah, and that's not that's not me. I'm not exaggerating. They're
No,
playing
that's
like 38
100%
minutes a game.
what it is.
And so when it gets down to it, like you have three girls with 4 fouls in the third quarter or 3 fouls in the third quarter, kind of changes the way you have to play and how you have to operate, but not only offensively but defensively. like on both sides of it, where y'all have to play.
Yeah.
And it just, I don't want to say it's unsustainable. You're just going to have somebody off. Like I think KG might be the answer to that, but you'll continue to have to watch and see what they want to figure out. But I do think that was almost a coaching misstep in terms of not being able to get some sort of set, some sort of like slow it down.
Yeah, I agree. And to me, I think flex is an easy offense to just kind of set it up where you have. I'm just going to draw it here because
you did the great Noah's Ark.
You think so?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Noah's Ark.
Or it's just it's so simple where it's just kind of set up like this where you have four out, one in. That's that's the build of the play, and it's literally the ball starts here, gets past here. That's where the ball is. This is a back screen to somebody cutting to score here. You set a down screen for this person to come up and catch it here. That's all it is.
So now do it so everybody can see what you're talking about.
It's a back screen from the dunker spot, the block, sets a back screen for this person from the corner to come all the way around. This is your first look for this person. Pass here, layup. That doesn't happen. They overplay it. This person is setting a down screen here. Player goes, it's the easiest play in basketball. It's the most class. Everybody runs flex. To me, you run something like that to at least you're not even really trying to score out of it. It's almost
just movement.
Make the defense work. Like Denham Springs runs flex every time down the floor. They call it jacket because they're the Yellow Jackets. That's all they run. Freshman JV varsity. Jacket. Just
pervert.
Yeah, amen. Just flex every time down the floor, and it just gets the defense tired. Like they're not even trying to score out of it. Like it's just make the defense work. Like at the end of that game, when you realize that your players are out of whack, you're calling one of those timeouts to slow it down because the timeouts really, it didn't work. Like they were great timeouts, but they didn't have to, they still came back out of them in the same mindset, the same over-energized, kind of uncomfortable, almost reaching for something that wasn't there. You run something like flex, which is simple, the easiest thing in the world. It gets the defense working against themselves. So maybe guess what? They'll be tired to make a mistake on offense. You can get one of those run outs and lay it in. Things like that where it's not just we're going to go one-on-one. Right, because that's what's happening. Your one-on-one isn't working, and then Texas is going to go down. They're going to set something up for Madison Booker, who had 0 points in the first half, finishes with 18. And that's why you lose that game. And so I still think this is a very good basketball team. I think they will be better because of yesterday, and Lloyd said that yesterday where he felt almost more comfortable with this team losing this game because it'll just kind of be like a get right. Like, okay.
It's not sustainable.
Right. You've kind of gotten away by the skin of your teeth in these last couple of games where you've done this same song and dance and won. Well, now you did it and it didn't work. Fix it.
And that's from like top down.
100%. 100%. And there has to be something that changes because right now against top 10 teams this year, you're 0-2. Well, in March, when you're trying to win a national championship, you're going to see some top 10 teams.
I would imagine.
And they're going to be playing as hard as they physically can. So there's some things that I think need to be figured out, but this is still such a good basketball team, and I think they're definitely better than the Sweet 16. But it comes down to cleaning up some of these mistakes, fixing those little things that can be fixed, like not gambling. They're such a good defensive team, but then they get out of it when they start gambling, they start overdoing different things. Like I thought you got such a good game out of Samaya Smith yesterday, especially defensively, where she was rebounding well, she was blocking shots, she really played. She stepped up to the plate against the size that we were talking about Texas having. Anissa played well. Flaugier played well. Like they played a great game.
I'll tell you, this is the stat that we've been
Right.
It bears fruit now because you're saying like the big three and how many minutes they have to play and you need somebody else to do it. Flau'jae 16, Michaela 18, Anissa Mora 15. All finished with double figures for the Tigers. Morrow 20 rebounds.
Yep.
No other LSU player scored more than 3 points, aside from your big three.
Yeah.
Texas bench outscored LSU 28-5. Like that's the game.
It's not the same, and that's what I talked about against after you lost to South Carolina, where South Carolina's bench dominated, and LSU, against Tennessee, you saw KG step up and make plays. She played how many minutes last night? Can you pull that up?
I can find it. Give me 1 second.
Because I think Samaya, Anissa, Flau'jae, and Michaela played 37 minutes all the way around. I think Samaya might have played 36, but those four played all your minutes. I'm pretty sure Poe was right there with 29. And I think Gilbert had something around 6.
I was about to say, I think Poa played 26 to 28 minutes, and Gilbert had maybe 5.
Right.
And that's somebody that's won you basketball games, and it happened literally the game before this.
When you need to find a rhythm, she can kind of help with that offensively, especially if you're trying to get Flau'jae or Michaela a breather, which they're going to need at some point. Gilbert is a great way to kind of calm the storm when they're getting that breather because she can go create offense. And so
Kaylin Gilbert played 5 minutes and 30 seconds, while Poa played 26 minutes and 4 seconds. Del Rosario played 1 minute.
Right. It's just
and then
anyway, in that 1 minute she gave up an offensive rebound putback.
Yeah, she got lost in the sauce for a second.
To close out the quarter.
Samaya Smith joins the big four in terms of players over 35 minutes.
Yep.
Samaya Smith played 35 minutes and 40 seconds. Anissa Mora, 36 minutes and 58 seconds. Flau'jae, 37 minutes.
Right.
And 19 seconds. And Michaela, 36 minutes and 50. That's the game.
And to me, the list of things, I'll just do 3 things for LSU.
Do it on the whiteboard.
You listed out?
Yeah, people like Coach Noah.
I need a napkin. Throw me something to clean this bad boy off. I'll have to use my jacket. But there's 3 things for LSU to kind of right the ship somewhat. I would say 1 would be inputting some sort of offense, some sort of set outside of just a high ball screen, and an ISO. 2 would be the substitutions. You absolutely have to substitutions. Gotta sound it out. My bad.
Prostitution, but different.
You have to find a way to get some of these players out of the game, get those minutes down, and just kind of pick your spots a little bit better. And then 3, you have to clean up the mistakes, the simple stuff, where it's not just whether it's gambling on defense, it's traveling on offense, it's illegal screens, it's not blocking out. Like the play at the end of the third where Aaliyah Del Rosario finally gets in the game, she gives up an offensive rebound putback. When you finally play good transition defense, you get back, they get a kick out 3, they don't make it, and then offensive rebound putback because ADR was just kind of standing there watching.
Ball watching.
And that's just that can't happen. Like that's a point in the game where it's such a big moment because I'm now remembering what was happening before. Day Wilson gets a steal, breakaway layup, doesn't make it. If basketballs, because basketball will basketball. And the way it usually works is you miss one of those gimmies and you give a run out back the other way, they're going to hit that 3 when they get it. If they get an open 3, they're going to hit it. They don't make it, but Del Rosario's kind of blocking out with the big girl from Texas. Doesn't clear her out, just kind of standing there watching it go in. The ball bounces this way off the rim, tip in 2 points, close out the third quarter. We're going to the fourth quarter 2 points closer than it should be. That's a 4-point swing in the matter of 10 seconds where Day Wilson misses the layup. My first thought process as a coach when I'm over kind of dissecting things is maybe don't go straight at the rim 1-on-2 with, the clock ticking down under the shot clock number, but it was an open layup. Take it, whatever. You don't make it. That's okay. It doesn't always go in. at some point, you have to step up and be like, okay, let's close the door. And this was a good opportunity where you catch a break, they missed the open three. Like, you caught a break, and you didn't clear out. Like the 3-pointer, and this is one thing about basketball, and this is going to be like a Rodman kind of take, where when you're, on the basketball court, and a three is shot from this corner, so where this X is, if this is where the 3-pointer is shot from, the rebound is going to happen right here. More times than not, it's going to happen on the opposite side.
Boom, bang.
Like, that's just how it works. Well, Del Rosario is standing right here against the big girl from Texas, who's kind of on this side. So they're just kind of sitting here in the middle. I don't have them.
Oh, I got you.
There we go. They're just kind of sitting here in the middle. This is Del Rosario right here. So she's not on the right side anyways. She's too close to the play. Well, if she just kind of does her job and clears her out of here and stays in front, if she clears out of the lane, she pushes her all the way out right here and then clears her right here. The ball's coming right here. So get the rebound. But instead, she stays on that side. It kind of bounces this way off the rim, right into her hands, tip in, 2 points. And that's a moment where it's a 4-point swing because you miss a layup on this end. Mm-hmm. You turn around, you give the offensive putback on that end when you caught a break. Like, I don't know how many, I can't stress it enough that this 3-pointer being missed was a break. Like, in basketball, that doesn't happen. The way basketball works is when the hits come, they keep coming, and instead of
a game of runs.
Right. Instead of a missed layup turned into a three, it's a missed layup into a missed three. Get the rebound, get out of here. Go to the fourth quarter. And it didn't happen. So, to me, those 3 things are how LSU can make a run at a national championship. If those 3 things can get kind of figured out, where you have some sort of offensive set to at least get the defense moving. It's not something that you need to score out of, but make the defense work and second guess, because they probably will make a mistake. Like we're talking about LSU baseball, where we're going to send runners to second to steal regardless of the count. Like, we might not even really be trying to – we're going to put pressure on your defense every single time we're in the box, we're on the bases, we're going to apply pressure. That's what running a set is. Running flex or running some sort of set is to apply pressure to the defense where, one, they're having to work to get around screens, to jump things, to communicate, all these different aspects. 2, they're human and they'll probably screw up. They'll probably fall asleep and get back screened easy layup if the pass is there on time. They'll fall asleep on the down screen, open 3. Just something to get them moving and going. And it's an easy fix. And then after that, the substitution stuff. You cannot keep living and dying with those 3 playing 40 minutes. Yes, live and die by their performance. 100%, those are your 3 stars. You're going to live and die with their performance. That's true. But they shouldn't have to play the whole game. You have to have some sort of answer for that. And then after that, it's just these silly mistakes. And they're human. Those things are going to happen. But to me, if those 3 things get cleaned up, I think they had 19 turnovers. And you only, you're in that game. You cut that number down to 15, which is still a lot. Completely different ballgame. Those things can solve a lot and put LSU in a much better spot. So,
JD from his new Twitter.
From WFB9 Sports on
WFB9 Sports. In my opinion, it would have been LSU women's basketball biggest regular season win under Kim Mulkey. Texas is obviously a powerful opponent, but LSU is their own worst enemy so often with agonizing turnovers and silly mistakes. This game was there for the taking. He's not wrong, but it's still funny that he the fan always comes out in JD.
Yes.
Whenever it's a big game.
Yes.
Which is why I appreciate him so much, because he's the likes best. LSU like I like LSU.
As long as he's been here covering this program, it's still right here.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he has not been, turned into just a button pusher TV guy. Like, he is still
Oh, I
That's
can't
why
be
he's-
a fan.
that's why he's the
I have
best.
to be objective.
That's why he's the best in the business. And he's 100% right. This would have been the biggest win at Texas, and you weren't able to close it out. And to me, the South Carolina game, as much as you made some mistakes to put yourself in that spot, South Carolina beat you. Like, they were better. They guarded you like crazy, and they were a deeper team. They won that game. And I'm not saying Texas didn't win this game because they made plays down the stretch. LSU, to me, beat themselves more than Texas beat them. Like, LSU made mistake after mistake and did things to lose that game more than Texas kept doing things to win it. They made some shots at the end of that game where LSU was able to put themselves in a position to make something happen, and Texas went back down and made some shots, 100%. But the way they got there was by LSU beating themselves. So,
Even with all that said, LSU played well enough to win.
yep.
And you still.
And they're going to be in every game that they're in, regardless of the opponent. You know, as good as the opponent will be, LSU will be in that basketball game because they are a good team. If they can iron out those three things, they're a top 4 team in the country, maybe even top 2. You know, but if you don't iron those things out, Carl Dunn could be right about Sweet 16. Like, teams can catch up and sneak punch you, sneak attack you, and find ways to win against you if you're not able to do some of those things. If you keep creating mistakes and turning the ball over. If you keep playing your players, like if they're getting 40 minutes every game, like that's just like you can't expect them to sit down and guard. Like, I get why Flaugier goes to gamble. She probably doesn't want to sit down and guard anymore because she's playing 40 minutes a game. Like, those are the things that start happening where all of these problems can kind of start stacking on top of each other. They're all, as much as those are 3 separate things, they're all tied together. Mm-hmm. And so, if LSU can straighten them out, it'll be much easier to win games as the season goes on.
1 or 2 more people to step up.
Yes. You need
It
Gilbert.
doesn't have to be every game, but it has to be somebody else off the bench.
Somebody else. And it seemed like
Norris Cole.
Right. Mulkey and LSU had kind of started to get more comfortable with the bench as of late, and then last night push came to shove back to 5. Found 5, stick with them. And it's going to be a tough way to win.